Okay, here we are. We turn on SAS, we throttle all the way up, and we didn't add the little launch clamp thingies, but that's fine. I think we'll be okay. So, let's fire up and check out this asparagus staging at work. And I know I said before you want to launch with solid fuel boosters, and that is true, but right now we're just hoping we can kind of just overpower it because we have just so much fuel and thrust. At least that is my hope. If not, then we will be back adding solid fuel boosters to this rocket. But we'll check out the first asparagus staging. You see that tank ran out, and we drop it. So now we have all these engines still firing at full thrust and full fuel. And basically, it's just a lot better off than doing it just until these things burn out. So we are up, getting into the slightly thinner part of the atmosphere now, and we can maybe even throttle down. Well, no, let's not throttle down a bit. Let's keep it up until we drop this last thing here. And then the thing is, you don't want to be turning over when you deploy a stage of asparagus staging. So we drop that. Now we start our gravity turn, and we are up in the thinner part of the atmosphere. And you can see how efficient this heavy launcher is. It's a very good design. Basically, the orange tank asparagus heavy launcher works pretty well for me whenever I use it. So, if you need a heavy launcher, that's where you go. So, we can turn over all the way now. We are going way up into space. And we will turn this over. Bill is actually flying today. I did not notice that it wasn't Jeb. Oh yeah, we forgot to recover Jeb since our last tutorial. He's still sitting over there in the ocean. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm going to hit X to throttle down. By the way, I don't think I mentioned that. X throttles down, Z goes full throttle instantly. X, Z, X. So that is that. Now, we can click on our apoapsis. We'll click just before it, and we'll warp up to there. Because what we want to do to get up into orbit now is get to our apoapsis and burn prograde. So, we will do this, turn face directly prograde, and then we can throttle this up and watch our orbit extend. So we have run out, though, of the final stage there of the asparagus staging, so we will ditch it, and we still have a full orange tank with a skipper engine of full fuel to carry us, hopefully, out to the moon. So, we are extending our orbit slowly. We can hit Alt, and then the period key, and you will go into what's called physics warp. And it's the only type of time warping and stuff you can do while you're burning. And if you don't have a very stable craft, you don't really want to do it. But for the sake of the video, I will go up to physics warp ×3, and that'll just make this take a lot less time. Okay, there we go. That is our orbit. So, we are in orbit, and we want to get out to the moon. What do we do next? Well, what we gotta do is we can set the moon as a target. Now, basically, the idea is you would create a maneuver node, and you would burn prograde and extend your orbit out until you get a close mooner encounter. So, there it is. And the thing is, you can do this with maneuver nodes very easily. You just kind of loop it around until your targets match up. You extend yourself out just so that you get this little thing. There you go. The moon is very easy to get to. But if you don't have maneuver nodes, you can also get to it. What you do is you basically, if we get rid of this maneuver node, if we warp around to here, I will show you. You can just wait until you see the sun, or the moon rather, rising over the horizon of Kerbin, and then start burning prograde. And that will eventually get you a pretty close encounter. So if you don't have maneuver nodes, or you don't want to use them, that is how you get to the moon. So we will warp here and watch for moonrise. We should turn though and face the direction we actually want to burn. So let's go this way. There we go. And there we go. There's our prograde marker. Okay, so we're turning over to face prograde. And a little hint is if you time warp by hitting period period to time warp up, while your ship is spinning, it will stop spinning. So then we can put on the SAS there. That's just a little time-saving kind of hint for flying. So, alright, we see the moon rising now. We can literally just throttle up, face prograde, and watch our orbit extend, and it will get us a lunar encounter. So, how much fuel are we going to have? We may need to start using this stage at some point. I'm not sure. But that'll be fine. Okay. So we are extending out now. And still got a decent amount of fuel left in this stage, so maybe we can get out there with this stage. There's the moon, there's Kerbin, here's our ship. It all looks so beautiful. Alright, our orbit is getting out there. We got to get out to around 11,400,000 meters. So, once we get out to there, we will get ready to hit X. Alright, there is our lunar encounter. So, that is how burning prograde when the moon is rising will get you an encounter. Now, what we want to do is get this to be a lower encounter. So we just will keep burning prograde as this goes down, and get ready to stop ourselves. What happened there? Our orbit changed quite a bit there. So basically I'm going to back that up and go back the other way by burning retrograde. So we will flip ourselves around a little bit and just kind of undo that last burn, get our orbit back to where it was. Okay, so let's go on a real slow burn, and that is fine. I like this moon encounter, so we will warp up to there. Oh, why? No, don't change, please. I don't know why it does this. Sometimes that happens with your orbit. Usually I trust it, but this is where... What? Why? Why is this happening? Okay. Well, let's warp up to our moon encounter. Whoops. Alright, did not want to make a maneuver. So you click on it and you right click and then you can X out. Now see, okay. There we go. Alright, we did get our normal encounter. So, we are ready and we have warped down to near our moon periapsis. Now, to get yourself into orbit, you want to warp down to your periapsis and burn retrograde. That is generally the best way to do it. So, we will get facing retrograde. We will warp down to near the periapsis, just before it. And then we will start burning. We will have to ditch this stage soon. And we will be burning with our actual landing stage then. So, let's get going and let's see how much we can do to our orbit here before this runs out of fuel. And we'll see it run out of fuel by the fact that our orbit will actually stop. Like that. Okay, so we got almost all the way into lunar orbit with that stage. Now we will get all the way in with this stage here, and we can bring ourselves down. We'll drop ourselves down way low. We won't land quite yet, but we will drop ourselves down really low. We can sit back, observe, take a look at the moon. We can hit G, which should deploy our landing gear right there. And because now, I mean, we're going to want it down anyway, because the next thing we're going to be doing is landing on the moon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp down to the periapsis, and we'll get to do a little flyby of the moon there. And then I want to turn and face retrograde and bring this orbit down a bit. We're going to land on the day side of the moon because we don't have lights on our lander, something we could have probably done, as well as actually a power source. I forgot to do that in the tutorial. Go back, add a power source to your ship. But we will hope that for now that we're going to have enough power without one. I think we will. So, alright. Now let's bring this periapsis down here, and then we will warp back again around to that. And then that is where we will land. Where exactly do we want to land? We could land somewhere around here, not in the crater maybe, but we want to be kind of on the equator, so this would be good. What we're going to do now, we have plenty of fuel, is we are just going to start burning retrograde until we come down and land, and it'll be pretty simple. So just start burning retrograde here, and our periapsis will drop, and you can see now we are landing, and we are going to eventually get to the point where we are coming close to straight down, and that'll be good. Alright, right there, that's a solid little angle we can kind of fly in at. Let's time warp a bit. Oh no, I realized another thing I forgot. I've forgotten two things in this tutorial. A ladder. We need a ladder. So go back and add a ladder to your tutorial. I'll add a little note in the video because I am not smart. And again, it's very easy to forget these things. It happens to even veteran KSP players. So if you find yourself forgetting things like that, don't worry. So our Kerbal will not be able to actually get out and walk around on the moon, but you will be able to, because I will hopefully have fixed the tutorial on the building of this craft. But at least we're learning how to fly it. So, lights, power source, and ladder. Make sure you have them. Create yourself a checklist, honestly. I've done this before for myself when I first started playing, and I sort of stopped doing it, but I now sort of forget things. Create a checklist for all the things you're going to need, like lights, ladder, landing gear, power source, satellite probe if you're going to need one of those, just everything, docking ports, because if you forget one thing, parachutes, it's not a good situation. I've had missions where, you know, you do your whole mission, you get everything good, and then you come back and you realize, oh no, I don't have a parachute, I can't land, and this mission sort of failed. Or if you don't have a docking port and you run out of fuel, you can't go and refuel yourself, and that is not ever a good thing. So, all in all, yeah, checklists are a good idea, and you gotta make sure you have everything. So, let's time warp down now a bit. We are coming straight down. As you can see, if we go to the map, we have slowed ourselves down to almost nothing, to the point where our retrograde marker is pointing directly into the blue. If your retrograde is facing the blue, that means you're going down, because the blue is up. Whoa, 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 whoa. turned off SAS there accidentally, and that is what happens. Your ship wobbles out of control. So basically what we want to do is just keep this retrograde marker going straight directly down, because if you're not going directly down, that means you're sliding over the surface to the side a little bit, and that makes landing more complex than it needs to be. So we have got our lander. We are coming in at 80-ish meters per second, and Bill is looking good, looking happy. Now, we just got to burn retrograde to make sure that when we hit the ground, we are not going more than, say, 5 to 10 meters per second tops. So we'll slow ourselves all the way down, and basically, if you don't have lights, you're watching for your shadow, which you can see right up there directly above the craft right now. Our shadow is getting larger, and so we are going to make sure we have ourselves slowed down as our shadow gets bigger. And a lot of times with these, you can find kind of a happy medium where you can have your thing running and you will be just slowing down like this ever so slowly. And now what we need to do is we are landing on a bit of a hill, so this is a good learning opportunity. You can't do it too early because then you'll end up facing a different direction, but it is a good idea to potentially face your landing legs so that they are facing the way that this hill is going. So we are going to go like this and just slowly but surely, whoop, not that way, this way, touch down. Okay, hold on. We are going too far, or that's too steep of a hill, and also we are going on too much of a trajectory sideways. So we are going to basically just redo this here, try again with a flatter spot, hopefully. Okay, is this better? Maybe a little bit. What I'm going to want to do is get going back like right down here. And what I'm going to do then is try and bring it down, because this looks fairly flat compared to the rest of the area. So now basically you got to just do this multiple times to get a feel for it. Honestly, that's the only way. But you want to just get your retrograde marker going straight down, and then slow yourself a little bit. Let's hope that our area is flatter this time. And then we will watch as our shadow gets a bit closer, and we can come in for the actual landing and hope that we have a flat enough surface. Alright, come on, and we have almost touchdown. It's very, very close to touchdown. And we have touchdown. Alright, don't tip over, please. There we go. Okay, so our craft is down on the surface of the moon. If we had been smart and put a ladder here, we could have our crew member get out, but we did not do that, so that is fine. Again, hopefully you will have done that. So now get out, explore the moon to your wildest desires, take surface samples, do all of that good stuff. Really enjoy it if this is your first moon landing. And then let's get back up into outer space, get back hopefully to orbit around Kerbin, and then we can send up a ship to dock with this and get Bill down to the surface. Okay, so now we are ready to complete our mission. Assuming you have explored the moon to your fancy, what you do is the same thing, except for instead of taking off at Kerbin where you have to go slow because of the atmosphere, you can pretty much do your turn instantly. So we will turn and just get right over here, and that is going to be good. We can watch our orbit extend, and that'll be great. Getting out of the moon and into lunar orbit is very, very simple. So, we are going to be ready to ditch, though, our landing stage here right away. So we will fire that off and fire our last engine, which will still be enough to get us up into orbit. Now, once we get our orbit extended pretty far, we will want to warp up to our apoapsis and then finish off our burn. But at this point, we can just keep extending it for a while. Alright, here we go. So our lunar orbit is looking pretty darn good. We are flying with the final remains of our ship across the surface of the moon. We have plenty of fuel left, and Bill is probably very, very happy. So, let's see here. Let's warp up to our apoapsis and then do our burn. So there we go, get to apoapsis, turn to face prograde, and burn to extend your periapsis out and complete your orbit. There we go. And look at that. Now we have an orbit of the moon. So now the next thing we want to do is figure out which way, where we want to do our burn to get back to Kerbin. And where we want to do it is right where our periapsis is right now, basically. So, if we come in and do this burn right here, that'll lower us into a very good orbit around Kerbin to bring ourselves in and stabilize to be rescued by a ship with parachutes. So, let's get over here, get to facing our maneuver node there, and then we will click. You click after your maneuver node, so we're going around this way, so if we click on the blue line here, we would say warp here. If we click after our maneuver node, you can warp to next maneuver node. So we will warp up until our next maneuver node and get ready to do the burn itself. Okay, so here it is. We are going to warp until 1 minute away. That is what that button does, is it warps you until 1 minute before your maneuver node. So it gives you time to correct yourself a little bit, and we will do that. Take one last look at the moon here before we are getting on out of here and heading back to Kerbin. Okay, so let's just time warp a teeny bit, and we'll start our burn. There we go. Our orbit will extend. We will eventually leave the moon, and then we will have to pay attention to our orbit around Kerbin. Okay. So, any second now. There it is. And we are bringing this way down, as far down as we can. And let's put it even at like 100. That would be great. Okay, so that is a very solid burn done. We can close out this maneuver node, and let's warp up until we are leaving the moon's orbit. So there's Bill saying goodbye to the moon and preparing to get himself out to low Kerbin orbit. Alright, so here is our... what the heck? So our maneuver node lied, apparently. Oh, nope, it did not. Okay. We're still good. It was just weird. Weird little maneuver node thingy that I have no idea what happened. So, we will warp down to near our periapsis and just continue as though nothing was wrong, because it wasn't, apparently. Alright, so we get down to periapsis, and what we're going to want to do is burn retrograde to pull our orbit down. So, there we go. Warp a little bit more till we're at actual periapsis, and then just start burning, and you can see how quickly it's working and how little fuel we're using. We still have plenty of it. So, we're bringing down our kerbin apoapsis. We're going to bring it down hopefully close to like 100 meters, and then we'll have a fairly circular orbit, and we will be able to dock a ship to it. The only problem is our actual angle of our orbit is a bit messed up, but maybe we can correct that too. So, we will let this burn finish up. It is getting pretty darn close. If you click on this, you can leave up how much fuel you have left, just so we know. And we're just going to get this into basically the best orbit that we can with the fuel that we have. So, hopefully we get close to 100 by 100 meters, but no, we're not going to actually get close. So, this docking is going to be a bit more difficult than I had planned. Although, wait a minute, we have RCS left, and a lot of it. So, what we can do is hit R, and then hold H, and H will propel you forward. So, if we do that, and then do physics warp times 4, you can see we're actually bringing down our orbit a decent amount. So, if you keep doing that, we are going to be able to use all the monopropellant that we need to, basically, to actually fully correct our orbit. So we can stop doing that, and we'll warp around to our periapsis again and do the same thing, and that is how we're going to bring down our apoapsis. And you can see we have tons of monopropellant. I probably put more on there than we needed, but that's okay. Again, I like to be safe rather than sorry, and yeah, that's just generally my motto. Also, my motto should probably include don't forget ladders and other things, but yeah, that hasn't been edited in yet. There's a whole big process of changing my official motto, I don't know. Alright, we are going to have to do this pass maybe one more time to get our apoapsis down to a okay place. Although we could actually just warp out to our apoapsis and then extend our orbit to there too. That is the other option. So, actually we are bringing this down pretty close to even now. So that is good. Good enough for me. What we're going to do then is we are going to add a maneuver to get ourselves into a more equatorial orbit, because that will help with the docking. So, we're going to click on the area where our orbit crosses the equator, and we are going to do a burn like this and see what that does. And let's see, that is something we're going to want to do, but we probably no, we shouldn't. It'll take a long time. We're not in a terrible orbit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a ship up, and then that ship will get to our orbit. So we'll warp to our apoapsis, and we will extend just so that we are in at least a very close to circular orbit. So just hit H there while facing prograde. Nope, that's wrong. Hit N there, apparently, while facing prograde, and that will do it. So, it's H and N to burn forward and backwards, by the way, with RCS, in case I did not mention that. So there we go. Alright. This is going to work. 107 orbit, I think we can do that. So now it's time to go build a ship to come up and dock to this one.